What's going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back for a brand new episode of Chaos Ed Noah. Last time on, we saw Takumi once more, as always, going slowly insane as he's still trying to figure out how to get a DI sword. And he tries to explain it to Rimi, but she doesn't really grasp it, which is very understandable from her perspective. Takayumi's just going completely insane, showing her all the patterns and stuff of the uh, stuff, basically to implant visual images into people's eyes and inventions like that. As he's going through all of this, he has a typical horny delusion of Rimi. But something very interesting about that. At the end of the delusion, she gets up and exits his base, aka his shipping container. Well, when he snaps out of it, she does the exact same thing. She says the exact same words, and she exits the exact same way. Like just like in the delusion, which brings about a lot of questions to me personally. Of is this a case of like parallel universes, or is it the fact of delusions becoming a reality? That sort of thing that has been hinted at over and over again. I mean, we did have that whole scene with Fess and the two versions of her, and the existence of the DI swords. Of they come from somewhere, and only certain people are able to see it, but they still have to come from somewhere. And it's like, where do they come from? Are they simply just manifestations of the people's delusions, Fess's delusions, Sana's delusions, and I guess eventually Takumi's delusions, even though he hasn't manifested it yet? What exactly does trigger the DI sword to be summoned is really the biggest question we have, and how exactly Takumi will do that. Which really, does beg the question, how will Takumi activate his DI sword, really? Like, what is the mechanic? Does he have to learn something about himself? Does he have to dilute himself even more than he already has? Like, has he not gone far enough? Or is it, like, how exactly do you get the sword? Like, it's probably unique to everybody, so how exactly do you get it? Is the biggest question. After that, we did see a scene of Senna dealing with a more than likely a member of Nozomi controlling a group of people using some sort of machine or whatever, and she takes her sword and slashes at the guy, which is very interesting. We also had another scene of that with some project head talking to the head honchos of Nozomi, talking about the next step in their plan, their new invention, Noah, and how it exploits the blind spots in people's perceptions. And how exactly will that help them? Maybe taking over the world or some stuff like that. But anyway, there was a good comment last episode, actually, when I asked about, like, what are the changes in Chaos Head Noah from the original version? And someone told me something very surprising. The original Chaos Head had 3 endings. Noah has 9 endings, which is an insane leap. Like, that is a lot more than 3. Going from 3 to 9? No wonder everybody recommends, like, the Noah version of Chaos Head. Because I feel like with the base version, you would only get, like, a part of the story. Heck, in that comment, they did say that those 9 endings really do answer a lot of the unanswered questions about this story. And that's good. I like that a lot. Well, I mean, depends on the story if I want unanswered questions or not, like, up to interpretation. Not every single thing needs to be answered, but depending on how these endings go, that might be a good thing. Because, it I I'm so curious about what the hell the base version of Chaos Head is. Like, I'm more curious than anything else, just to compare and contrast with Noah on how different it is, because I feel like so far, obviously this is my first ever reading of this story, so I can't really compare it to the original, but it paints a much vivid picture of what's going on. Still in the dark. I have no idea what the hell is going on, but I have some idea of like, okay, what is happening. Well, I think with the original version, I'm just pure guesswork. But I feel like you spend most of the time from Takumi's perspective. You don't have those little vignettes between like scenes and such with like Bam or the Norzumi organization or Asena, and those little scenes like that. You probably just view most of the story just from his perspective, and that would be so much more confusing if we only had Takumi's perspective only, because he's very much an unreliable narrator, which I guess adds a little charm to the original. But at the same time, it's like there's just so much other stuff. Like I don't know. I don't know. This is my first reading of the story, so I can't really like say like, oh well, obviously this is better than the original. But 9 endings is insane. Like that is such a big jump from 3. Um, I also got a tip from somebody else that says when I get to a point when Shogun sends an email, I should go for a neutral delusion, which is cool. But I want to just state this up front right now. Don't don't spoil stuff in the future. If you want to leave tips for me for like delusions or some such like that, be a little bit more subtle about it. Don't outright say like, "Oh, Shogun's going to email Takumi in the future," because I consider that a bit of a spoiler. And this is a visual novel. The whole point of it is a story. So just for people watching this right now, if they want to read down a comment, like a tip or something, or like, "Oh, you have to see this Void," be more subtle about it. Like let's say, I don't know, the CG. Like, I don't know, like, be on the lookout for a computer monitor. Well, I mean, we see a bunch of computer monitor CGs in this fucking game. But anyway, just be more subtle about it. Less spoily. Just for the future. Just future cases like that. And also, I'll probably go through all the delusions, since I mean, there's fucking 9 endings to this game. I'm gonna play this game like 9 fucking times, depending on like how many diverging paths there are, because 9 is fucking crazy. But yeah, that's just be a little bit more subtle with your hints. That's all I'll ask. All right, just be a little bit more subtle for it, and we'll be all good. All right, because I don't want to get spoiled. I really do not want to get spoiled. So just a heads up for everybody out there. But yeah, let's just get right into it, shall we? After classes finished, I found myself standing still at the school entrance. Twilight was beginning to encroach upon the sky, and a few crows were flying across it, flapping their wings without so much as a caw. I was waiting for Rimi. It was her turn to clean the classroom, so she was taking longer than usual. We hadn't promised to go home together today, but I was sure we would. So waiting for that to happen, I'd been standing there for over 15 minutes. I had no idea how the day would go this morning, but I managed to make it through with a fairly little trouble. Usumi-kun was so desperate to talk with the transfer student that he dropped the subject about me and Ais entirely. I owed it all to a transfer student, really. Oh, speaking of delusions. Oh boy, well. We haven't had a bad one in a while. Let's just go for that. I really shouldn't be saving these. It's just a force of habit by this point, since, we're locked into a single ending in this first playthrough. Right. Speak of the devil, there she was, passing right next to me. With a face that looked like she was about to cry, she bowed her head to me. Despite how uncomfortable I felt, I managed to nod back. I watched as she attempted to leave for the school gate, tripping over herself along the way. Once again, I thought about how small she was. She fit the lolly archetype to a T. On top of that, she was a clumsy girl, too. Jesus. I didn't know her very well, but her perfect blend of personalities made me want to shout from the rooftops. She was loaded with moe traits, and yet she didn't seem very popular with the other girls. What people valued in others really did differ between 2D and 3D, huh? My vision suddenly went pitch black. I felt something push against my eyes. What the hell? The fuck? No fucking way. Could this be the legendary Who Is It game? The legend state that it only exists within the world of 2D, yet she said classic line. Could it be? Could it well truly be? Never thought I ever experienced it in my lifetime. As of right now, I basically won the game of life. Of course, I really knew the answer. After all, I was trained in the art of working out the voice actor just by hearing an anime character talk. Was there a creak of a wheelchair? But saying it's obviously you, Rimi, would be pretty embarrassing. How should I answer? What was that?
どう？答えわからない？
There was someone there. I could sense the presence of someone other than Rimi. Since my vision was obscured, my hearing was particularly sensitive. In the location where we were now, someone other than Rimi and I was there. And there was the sound of creaking metal. Oh god.
その目誰の目
My body was instantly seized by fear. I tried to shake off Rimi's hand, but she held it firmly.
ちょっとちゃんと答え言ってよ。ズルしちゃダメなんだから。
This was weird. Something was very, very wrong here. Why was she acting so carefree? Hadn't she noticed it? Or was she just pretending not to? I couldn't stand the fear of not being able to see what was going on, so I grabbed the delicate hands covering my eyes and ripped them away.
タク？
Rimi fought back even hotter. As a result, we ended up wrestling a bit with each other, and Rimi collided with my back. I felt the soft sensation of her bulging chest, but now wasn't the time to rejoice in that fact.
離せ
I somehow managed to shove Rimi's hands aside and jump away. I then turned back toward her.
どこだ将軍はどこに
Oh my god. It's so, like... The delusions are getting worse. Have you noticed that? Like, at first, it was obvious when it turned into a delusion. Like, the background would be all fuzzy. There would be a transition point. But now we're getting to the point, there's no transition. There's no wavy background. It's encroaching within Takumi's mind more and more, breeding delusion and reality together. Even though I did choose the red delusion, I know this is a delusion for a fact. It's like, what is the delusion here? Was it the wheelchair? Or, I mean, there were some delusions. I picked a choice. Then something happened, but it was like nothing changed, you know? Like nothing out of the ordinary happened with some of the delusion choices. So it really does fuck with your head. Like by the time like the 10th time around when you're doing the delusion thing, you know for a fact, like, okay, this is how it goes. Green is, more woge, red is more, horror. But as we continue on, it fucks with your head. I like that a lot. I really like that. One, it's just a great mechanic to really show Takumi's mental state. Really gets us more involved in his fucked up mind. I feel like it is a great example of like how deep you can get into a character's psychology. And two, it fucks with your own head of what is happening? What is actually fucking happening? Like what the fuck is going on? You know? That's why I say those vignettes really help a lot, because those vignettes confirm to us some baseline facts. We have some foundation. If it was only Takumi's perspective, I would not know what the fuck was going on. Like, no idea at all. Because he's just, like, we already know he's not a sane person. And he's an unreliable narrator. So it's like, what the fuck's going on? Which really, I mean, Chaos Head. I mean, that's the fucking title of the game. But I'm just so, I love this kind of story mechanic it uses. It's such a good mechanic, you know, in a visual novel. I know it's a visual novel, but I still feel like it's a great mechanic. I looked around the area, trying to find a wheelchair, but there was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
いない。そんな。
I couldn't see him anywhere, not in the large sport courts and not by the entrance. There wasn't a single sign of an old man riding a wheelchair.
タク、ごめん。びっくりさせちゃった。
Where the hell is he? Where's Harmon Smith? Rimi looked very apologetic. Didn't seem like an act either.
今いなかった。
何が？
車椅子の老人が。
Rimi tilted her head.
いないよ。私は見てない。その人と一緒だったの？
違う。そうじゃなくて。そうじゃなくて。
I became less and less confident in my assumption. Even though I was so sure I'd heard those things, that sound of a wheelchair creaking, Shogun's chuckle, it was like he was mocking me. And whose eyes are those eyes? Had I hallucinated it? Was I really that anxious? That was probably it. It was probably nothing more than that.
大丈夫だよ。
Rimi smiled at me, except it felt forced this time.
私が一緒に帰ってあげるから。怖がらないで。ね。
Louis flooded into me from her words. Then, guided along by Rimi, we headed toward the school gate. Damn it. That little seed of doubt of was it just hallucination? Because we feel like I mean, that whole fucking scene with the empty Shibuya and Shogun in the middle. Like, how... Like, why would Takumi manifest an old man in a wheelchair as Shogun? You know? That's the thing that really fucks me up about that. That, like, I can't just dismiss it as an illusion. Why would he manifest a guy named Shogun as an old feral man in a wheelchair? Why would he get that idea? Because when you hear Shogun, it's a Japanese, head of state, or like the general, I feel like, of the Japanese military, something along those lines. So it's like, was it just because of anxiousness, or did Shogun really do that to Takumi? But what would be the point of, I don't know, messing with Takumi's mind? Maybe to motivate him to get the DLI sword. Maybe Shogun's trying to make himself out to be the villain so Takumi could get his DI sword more quickly. But why? I don't know. Sumue Academy was in the high-end residential area of Shoto. Every house was huge and the whole area just oozed with an air of success and affluence. Despite this being Shibuya, still daytime at that, there were hardly any people around. gave the area this forlorn, lonesome air.
タクって意外とモテるよね。
I nearly died just then. What the hell was she talking about?
あれ、自覚ない？
With a chuckle, Rimi shot her index finger toward the tip of my nose. Don't point at people, it's rude, goddammit.
だってこの前はメガネかけた3年生の綺麗な人と一緒だったし。
Oh.
あれは。
うん、昨日聞いた。タクに意地悪する人だよね。
If you knew that, then why are you...
で、今日はあのフェスと話してた。あと折原さん、転校してきた朝に真っ先にタクに声をかけてたよね。さらに今こうして私と一緒に帰ってる。ほら、モテモテだ。
Actually, I had been thinking about that recently. Has my life as a normie begun? Are my popular times finally here? Stuff like that. Something that would have been absolutely unthinkable for me a month ago. Back then, I never had the chance to even talk to 3D girls, except excluding Nanami. I always boasted about not being into 3D girls, but that was just to make myself look cool and indifferent. So Rimi was definitely onto something. Why had my encounters with girls increased with such frequency? Why? It all kicked off after that chat with Shogun. Scary thoughts suddenly crossed my mind. What if every single event in this past month had all been a delusion? What if I'd just been having a really, really long dream? Considering how insane everything was, I didn't think it'd be all that surprised if everything went back to normal tomorrow. Or maybe the person controlling me had swapped out with someone else. Maybe the previous one was happy just watching me go through the motions, but the new one preferred to interact with other characters, or something like that. Either way, the past month didn't feel entirely real to me. Way too many things had been happening.
っていうか、私今日初めて知ったんだけど、フェスって同じ学校だったんだね。しかも同学年の隣のクラス。
Rimi's voice was overflowing with excitement. I guess Rimi was quite the trend chaser.
昨日タクから CD 借りたばっかりだからすごくびっくりしちゃった。それにすごく可愛い子だし。
I keep thinking back to that first conversation with Shogun. This world's possibilities have been limited. This world's possibilities have been limited. Like, the world can only go in a certain direction from this point. Or a certain direction that can make many different turns. But still, it goes in a certain direction and that can sprout into different, quote-unquote, routes. So I guess that could be, like, maybe that's a meta commentary in, like, the 9 different endings here. You know? Like, the world's possibilities have been limited. There's only a set number of endings. A set number of alternative paths. But how the fuck did that happen? I don't know. Rimi circled around in front of me. While still facing me, she began to walk backward. Her voice got all quiet, and then she asked me a question timidly.
何話してたの？今朝フェス岸本さんと聞かせてほしいな。私には聞く権利なんてないかもって思うけど、でも岸本さんと話してた時のタク、すごく思い詰めた様子だったから、なんだか心配で。
She'd seen completely through me. I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea to tell her everything. It wasn't like I had other people to talk to about it, plus agonizing over it on my own had gotten pretty exhausting. I'd appreciate another perspective. Not from someone who's spoken nothing but vague, ambiguous bullshit like Luis and Senna, but from someone that would give actual, concrete answers to my concerns. But when we talked yesterday, she hadn't believed me at all.
話してたのは剣のこと。
剣って昨日タクが言ってたやつ。
I nodded.
綾瀬は持ってるんだ。
何を？
本物を。
I wasn't completely sure, but I thought I heard Rimi taking in a large breath. She staggered with her eyes open wide, and then, after taking a few steps back,
嘘だ。
she shouted with a cruelly skeptical voice.
だってあれおもちゃでしょ？
だから僕のはおもちゃだけど、彼女のは本物で、ライブ行けば見られ。
I quickly realized what I was saying and cut myself off. Would she even be able to see it? I mean, Elise had mentioned that only people with powers could see DI swords.
ライブに行けばその本物の剣を見られるの？じゃあ今度行ってみようかな。ファンタズムのライブそのものも見たいし。あ、タク一緒に行く？
見られないかも。限られた人にしか見えないらしいんだ。
あ、そうなんだ。裸の王様みたいなものかな。じゃあ私バカだから見えないかもなんてね。
Actually, that was a good point. Come to think of it, I didn't know anything about what exactly a real DI sword was, nor how it worked. I'd just been accepting everything Elise said without question.
そんな剣本当にあるのかな。やっぱり私信じられないよ。タクが見たっていう岸本さんの剣も本物っぽく見えるおもちゃじゃないの？
でも光ったし。
I mean, it was fucking gigantic.
おもちゃでも光るやつはいくらでもあるよ。
Well, she wasn't wrong. If you wanted something to grow, you could easily slap some lights onto it. But when I thought of the overwhelming sense of presence that Eloise's swords had, their existence had became harder to deny. They had an aura about them that no mere toy should have been capable of. And most of all, Elise had taken that sword out of thin air. I'd seen it with my own eyes. It wasn't anything simple like hypnosis or super speed. On top of that, I felt as if I only gotten to experience the tip of the iceberg.
僕には妄想を現実に投影する力があるかも。
I had no definitive proof, but I tried throwing my thoughts at Rimi regardless.
だから将軍に、狙われてる気がする。
That was the only possible reason he'd be targeting me. There was nobody more harmless than I was. Otakus are fundamentally harmless beings. We did shut ourselves away in our own little worlds after all. If we had time to bother denizens of the third dimension, we'd rather spend that in our heads flirting with adorable Morley characters.
昨日調べてた特許のこと？タクはあんな装置持ってるの？
I shook my head.
そうじゃなくて、装置とかなくても力使えるかも。
タクからかってるんでしょ？あ、わかった。何かの漫画かアニメが元ネタ？
Just as I feared, she didn't believe me. But I knew I experienced what I was talking about before, with that accident back in elementary school. I tried desperately to explain that to Rimi. That I might have been a murderer. I knew Rimi might abandon me if I confessed that to her, but I couldn't hide it anymore. I wanted to tell someone. If I did, I could clear the uncertainty in my mind, even if just a little bit. Rimi listened to my shaky explanation with a troubled look on her face, remaining silent the entire time. And after I finished talking,
考えすぎだよ。
She nonchalantly laughed the whole thing off.
そう考えてることだってタクの妄想なんだよ。わかってる？
Was I really overfaking it? That was a nice spot. But even with that period, the uncertainty in the depths of my mind hadn't cleared at all. Truly the... What is real? What's fake? You know, what's just in Takumi's mind? What is... Who the fuck is Rimi? Where did she appear? Did he just forget about it? Or was it the fucking Norzumi organization getting rid of fucking Rimi's... Getting rid of Rimi in Takumi's mind, then bringing her back? Who knows? The smell of dust wafted through an office. An office situated on the second floor of a somewhat old building. Sunlight streamed in through the window covering the back wall, turning the floating dust into that of a thin, powdery snow. The words plastered onto the window, Frisia Credit Bureau, cast a shadow onto a nearby desk. 20 desks were lined up across the floor, with not even a hint of a gap between them. Each one was drowning in an endless sea of documents, papers, and files, piles stacked so high they looked to be on the verge of collapsing. From an outsider's perspective, it looked far more like a publishing company than a credit bureau. Most of the desks lacked denizens. There were only around 5 to 6 people at best. As for why that was, the obvious conclusion would be that it was a Saturday, but this was by no means the answer. This was made evident by the whiteboard stuck to the wall near the entrance, its schedule densely packed with tasks and projects. Nearing the end of his lunch break, Ban Yazuji opened the door to the private investigation company. He entered without so much as a knock, yet none of the workers seemed to bat an eye. Continuing to act as if he belonged there, Ban gave a quick "how's it going?" and headed toward the desk at the back of the room. In it sat a robust-looking woman, hunched over her laptop.
Oh, Momo-chan, genki?
Momo. In response, the woman continued staring at her monitor with a weary expression. Her name was Momose Katsuko, and she was the president of Frisa.
Ban-chan, また来たの？
また来ました。やっと。入所年についての新ネタない。
たく、私は忙しいのよ。抱えてる案件が5万ってあるの。うちみたいな零細企業は土日返上で仕事しなくちゃいけないの。わかる？
Momose finally raised her head. She placed a hand on her forehead, and upon seeing Ban's grinning face, widely shook her head.
ここは警察の秘密組織でも子会社でもないって何度も言ってるでしょうに。ただで情報もらえるなんて虫のいいこと考えてるんだろうけど、ここに来てる暇があるなら自分の足で何とかなさいな公務員さん。または依頼料を払うこと。予約表はみおちゃんにもらってちょうだい。
相変わらず冷てえ社長だな、おい。
In spite of Momose's sharp remarks, Ban didn't show a hint of concern. He simply fanned himself with his distinctive handheld fan, remaining aloof as could be.
この会社立ち上げるときにはあんなに協力してやったのによ。
あら、ワンちゃんも恩着せがましい人だわね。何年同じこと言い続ければ気が済むわけ？
まあ言っててくれ。じゃあ依頼料はこいつでどうかな。
Ban surely pulled out a plastic bag with the name of a nearby Japanese-style confectionery store on it.
なんだ、あるなら最初から出してよ。いつも悪いわね。みおちゃん、お茶2つ持ってきて。
Her attitude having undergone a swift stark change, Momose closely examined the contents of the bag Ban had handed to her.
あら、栗羊羹、今が旬なのよね。わかってるじゃない。あ、ばんちゃん、そんなところに突っ立ってないで座って。
No, Ban, you clever son of a bitch, aka the oldest trick in the book. Food. Ban gave a wry smile, took a chair from the closest desk, and seated himself beside Momose. The clerical lady Momose had called for before brought over 2 seeming cups of tea.
で、なんか新ネタあるかい？
ちょっと待ちなさいって。
Momose carefully unwrapped the chestnut yokon, folded up the wrapper, and set it beside her PC. She then hurriedly devoured the first of the sweet treats. Japanese-style treats were her greatest weakness. They were they were a necessary offering for Ban to bring every time he came for information.
おいしいわこれ。
人に言えた義理じゃないけどよ。ちったダイエットしたらどうだい？
Oh boy.
でないといつまで経っても結婚できないぜ。
本当に人に言えた義理じゃないわね。私はもうとっくに今期は逃したわよ。
With a shrug of her shoulders, Momose took a sip from her tea, then turned to face Ban.
また新しいニュージェネ事件起きたわね。こんなところでサボってていいの？
そっちの調査は俺以外の全員が真剣に取り組んでるさ。俺は別のアプローチから真実に迫ってやるってね。
かっこつけちゃって似合わないわよ。
Knowing himself to be quite sensible to hot drinks, Ban showed no hint of reaching for his cup. He simply continued to fan his face in spite of the already chilly air. It was something of a habit of his. Always fanning himself.
警察は G レートの線追ってるの？
Oh.
そうそう、G レートね。ありゃすごいな。ももちゃんの話の通りだったぜ。
Oh, so that's where he got the G rate information.
私が嘘の情報を渡すわけないでしょうに。これでおまんま食べてるんだから。それで？
まあ、勝手に調べてるよ。
勝手にって。ちょっとばあちゃん！
Momose's voice carried well. Her personality was intrinsically energetic, lending her voice quite a bit of volume. The workers of Friesa were used to this, not even better than I, as her angry voice reverberated throughout the office. The boss's yelling was an everyday occurrence after all. Ben and Momose were old friends, so he was all too familiar with being on the receiving end of it. Thus, to much to her chagrin, Momose's laugh was met only with him lazily picking at his ear. Before she said anything else, Momose quickly lowered her voice, for this was a topic she did not want met with prying ears. But her face was red with anger, as if she had not been cheerfully stuffing herself with sweets just moments before. She pointed her finger at Ban with tremendous intensity.
個人で追うのは危険だって言ったじゃない。
Ooh.
政治に宗教に企業、どれだけ根深く関与してると思ってるの？
Oh shit, what?
この間テレビで G レートの講義をやった太田教授がどうなったか、あんたもよく知ってるでしょ。
Professor Oda?
ああ、
Ota.
貼り付けで殺された被害者だろ。何度も聞いたよ。
Oh. Oh, huh? Interesting.
何度でも言ってやるわ。ええ、言ってやりますとも。
So that victim was like speaking out about the G rate, which is probably what Nozumi's looking into. And obviously they want to settle down any. Ooh. I wonder if that's the common thing about all these victims, is that they know about the GE rate. Ooh. And I guess Nozumi's trying to harness that? Because they did, like, check the readings of, like, how high the GE rate is in Shibuya and stuff. Maybe that's their point, is to harvest it, to do something.
あんたはいつも私の忠告を無視するんだから。それでいつも尻拭いさせられるのは私なんてたまったもんじゃないわ。
まあまあ、そうかなって。茶でも飲んで落ち着いたら。
Ignoring both Ban and her tea, Momose tossed a second chestnut yokon into her mouth in a huff.
だい 丈夫だって。一応諏訪と一緒に動いてるんで。今はまだ G レートやらなんやらってのは突飛すぎて上を説得できねえなよ。
スワちゃんは確かに有能だし、しっかりしているけど、無理させたら承知しないわよ。
ももちゃんはいつから諏訪の保護者になったんだ？
バンちゃんの無謀な行動に未来ある若者が巻き込まれるのはかわいそうでしょうに。
あ、そうか。
With a shrug of resignation, Ban took a testing sip of his tea, only to immediately grimace. It was still too hot.
しかし、バイオリズムが人を殺す凶器になるなんてこと、本当にありえるのかね？
前に説明したでしょうに。
実はいまいち理解しきれてねえんだわ。それってももちゃんお得意の電磁波と関係してるのかい？
Ooh, electronic magnetic waves? Momose let out a sigh, then in contrast to Ban composedly sipped on her tea.
満月の夜の事件簿はよく知ってるでしょ。
まあね。
The vast influx of incidences and accidents would always occur on the night of a full moon. This was no urban legend either. One need only glance at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police's statistical records.
その満月以上の力でバイオリズムカーブが上昇したらどうなると思う？
Ooh.
興奮するってことだろう。
それだけ？渋谷は特殊な街なのよ。言ったでしょ。 G レートが高ければバイオリズムカーブは上昇する。しかもその上昇値は満月の夜に影響する数値のおよそ6800倍。
Jesus.
なんと想像しにくい数字だな。
比べ物にならないくらいすごいって考えとけばいいわ。
しかしなんで今なんだ？
殺された太田教授が言っていたのは G レートが半年前から急に増加しているせいってことね。
Oh, yeah.
地層の構造に大きな変化が起きない限りそんなことはありえないそうだけど。
変化ね。
そう、駅前のスクランブル交差点で火山が噴火するほどのエネルギーが必要なの。
火山？そんなに大きな力なのか？
それくらい今の G レートはありえない状況なのよ。
Huh.
それを世間に訴えようとした教授はニュージェネで殺された。
事件の前日に教授が出演する予定だったテレビ番組が急遽放送中止になった話知ってる？
Damn.
確かか。
知り合いに NHK に勤めている人がいて聞かされたの。
国営放送の番組に圧力かけられる立場なんてそうそうないぜ。
私も詳細についてはわからないわ。知ってたらとっくに告発してるだろうし。
Ben leaned forward, intrigued.
これでも大体予想はつくさ。この際はっきり言っちゃってよ。
本気で聞きたい？社会の安部に踏み込むことになるわよ。いいの？パンちゃん、クビになるかもしれない。
俺はニュージェネ事件の犯人さえ捕まえられりゃそれでいいんだけどね。ま、どうするかは答えを聞いてから考えろ。
Sipping her tea, Momose tapped away at her laptop keyboard with her free hand. Displayed on the screen was a single document. It contained a list of information Momose had personally looked into.
名和と
Miwa Party, huh? No, what is that? Fictional. One of the two major political parties in Japan, okay. 4 years ago, the Miwa Party was an opposition party, but that changed following a major breakthrough in the general election that year. Its catchphrase is a brighter peace for the people, as the two kanji used in its name, Mei and Wa, mean bright and peace, respectively. course. Goddamn political parties.
もうちゃん、勘弁してくれ。俺はてっきり野党の名前が出てくると思ってたんだがな。よりによって。
Ban groaned another exposition. Yet, despite his smile, his eyes showed not even a hint of one. All they housed now was the cold, discerning gaze of a detective.
下手したら、この国が揺らぐぜ。
Huh. So a political party, huh? Oh shit, the conspiracy deepens. How deep is this fucking conspiracy? Is this all a setup for the New World Order, huh? Yeah. Since it was the weekend, I've been unable to get Rimi to come over, so I was forced to spend 2 very anxious days all by myself. I had Rimi pick up some groceries on Friday so I could survive the weekend without weaving my bays, but I come very close to sending her a text asking her to come over multiple times. But in the end, I hadn't sent anything. The only thing that gave me a break from my anxiety was the half hour I spent watching the latest episode of Bloodtoon. Even in extreme circumstances such as this one, I still had to make sure to stay up to date on Bloodtoon. Rimi was my sore source of comfort in the third dimension, but when it came to the second one, Bloodtoon was the one that fulfilled that role. Well, to be more specific, Sarah-tan was. It's always so chilly whenever Sarah appears. After I finally overcome that weekend, Monday came. I took a peek at Fair Pala's Phantasm section, only to find it in a state of complete disarray. Wasting no time, I immediately followed a link taking me to that channel. It was a total shit show. Let's see. This Phantasm's real name is Kishimoto. When she was younger, she was hospitalized for mental illness reasons. The name of the hospital was AHM. Phantasm is over. Cool storyboard. Too bad it's total BS. These please. Whose eyes are those eyes, Wall? Who the fuck is VS? You serious? Well, AM is only meant for patients with severe mental disorders, FYI. For fuck's sake, more haters? What a poor attempt at bait. If you're going to bother making a friend like this, at least include a source fail. This is such bullshit. Fess has never been in that dumbass hospital. How do you even sleep at night spreading such obvious slander? I've never even heard of AHM before. Stop making shit up. The one watching you was I, Fess. Strike the stake, strike the stake, strike the stake right into these dumbasses spouting BS. Next new gen victim's gonna be one of you bastards. Yeah, the claim is legit. Fess was hospitalized for a very long period of time for mental health reasons. The hospital publishes a free newspaper in which a selection drawings, essays, and poems and other works done by patients are shown. Their song lyrics can be found there. You can find all of this on the hospital's website, dipshits. Her full name is Kishimoto Ice. AHM, Arc Heart Medical. Interesting. Finally. Is that seriously all it takes for you guys to abandon her? Well, that's just fine by me. It just means I got fewer rivals now. Festival Town will be mine. See you all at the running. Finally. What, Lamau? It's actually true. What the fuck? Yes. Hell yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a frame war. See the pictures? I'm gonna piss myself laughing. Notice some phantasm simulation. Phantoms are going to disband because of this. I used to like Fest quite a bit sexually. Jesus. Yes. It must be someone's guidance to you, Lamau. The verses there aren't used in Phantoms' songs, are they? The one what you was I, Kishimoto Alice. Don't quit fast, I'm seriously gonna cry. I think I sort of understand it. They say there's a fine line between genius and insanity after all. Band break up flag for the win, tonight the black mass cometh. Holy Fest 10. Oh my fucking god. Well, that sets Phantom's fate in stone. FWIW. Guess is more fitting in for them than going mainstream. Any comment from Fest yet on their official website? Doesn't matter how much noisy virgins make on here. Fest doesn't look at the past, only the future. Can't wait for her next prophecy predicting all your deaths. BRB putting on my walrus skates. Jesus. This is true though. People fucking like this would be writing. But interesting. So, we got 2 connections here so far. One, Takumi went to the hospital when he was younger due to mental health issues. Now we got Fess, who, when she was young, went to the hospital. So I wonder if she got the same survey from Nozumi as probably Takumi did. Well, he got that on the second visit, but there was a man in a black suit that was watching over him during his stay. So we got a connection here. This could be a coincidence, but I doubt it. So we have a connection right here. Oh, okay. What's the problem, though? This week's is some weird advertising scheme by Phantasm. That's where to keep your dead bad wife a bunch. It was always obvious that Fess is a total schizo. Was everyone acting like this is a surprise at all? So Fess always was mentally ill. But that's what's good about her. Calm down, everyone. This is all just some magnificent bait from Fess time. Fess's spirit collapsed because the world is full of ill will. Its power awoke the punk part of her soul. Those keen, aggressive lyrics are the cry of her humiliated soul. We, on the contrary, should celebrate the facts bared by 12 as holy grace. The website's down. Are they trying to bail? Jesus. I followed the URL 12 had sent. Apparently, Urquhart Medical was an old-school psychology, that's a fucking word, I end up. An old-school psychotropic facility that only treated severe cases of mental illness, or at least that was what the website said. The website had pictures of the place, and frankly, it looked like a straight-up penitentiary. There were iron bars on every single window. I wasn't even sure if it was still open or not. The homepage hadn't been updated for 4 years or so. But just as the poster on Ad Chatter had said, beneath a certain poem was the name and photo of a young Louise. Huh. It wasn't that it was shocking to me or anything like that. After all, I'd regularly gone to a mental hospital too back when I was in elementary school, so well, I felt sympathy for her. Louise and I were the same. She had that bewitching aura to her, and every person my age in Shibuya thought she was so charismatic. But despite how different it made us, in this one way we were the same. The fact that we had that in common reinforced my hypothesis that I had the same power she did, the power to project delusions onto reality. It wouldn't be wrong to say that it gave me some courage, maybe even strength. Though, there was one problem. Up until now, I had taken everything Elise had said at face value, but that might have been a mistake. Things about how to acquire a DI sword. Things about how getting my hands on one could save me. It wasn't the phenomenon she showed me that was making me doubt her, but the words she said. I wasn't sure whether or not to believe her. Maybe... Oh shit. The sudden ringing of the phone startled me. You could always count on them to take you by surprise, and it would piss myself. That was why I hated these things. The loud ringing refused to stop, so I clicked my tongue and grabbed it. It was probably Nanami calling me. She was probably just calling me to bitch about whatever random bullshit was bothering her and kill me now. Annoyed as could be, I pressed the accept call button and held the phone to my ear without checking who was calling. I had no idea why I did that. After everything that had been through, why the hell had I not checked the caller's number? Fuck. Son of a bitch. What came from the other side of the line was a certain melody playing loudly. You may pass. I frantically checked the number in the display. Shit, I knew I should have checked. It was them, but how? It said it wasn't in use anymore. When I had Nami call the number to check, that one notice played. Maybe the prankster had reactivated it?
どうしよう
Panicking, I turned toward the center of my room. Surely Rimi would be there ready to give me some advice. But she obviously wasn't. Of course she wasn't. Rimi was at school right now in the middle of class. I told her in advance I wouldn't go to school today, so she hadn't come to pick me up. As I freaked out trying to figure out what the hell to do, You May Pass kept on playing from my phone. A whole minute had already passed. From the small amount I'd listened to earlier, I could tell there were other sounds mixed in with the song. The few things I could make out were the sounds of car engines and people walking. Whoever was calling me, they had to be outdoors. But who the hell was calling me? I could only think of one person that would pull a prank like that. Shogun. Now really freaking out, I looked at Saratan, who was standing next to my PC screen.
どうしたらいいと思うセーラ
Saratan smiled at me, just as she always did.
切っちゃえばいいさ。無視無視。
そっか。そうだよね。その手があった。
I should have done that from the beginning. I put my thumb on the button to end the call. But for some reason, before hanging up, I felt the undeniable urge to listen to You May Pass just one more time, just for a little bit longer. It felt strange even to me. It creeped me out. There was no reason I should have voiced it even remotely, and yet I almost subconsciously gripped my phone and brought it to my ear. What the hell is that noise? What the fuck? What? It came surging out of the phone. A fierce pain. A violent, piercing, nearly ultrasonic noise. The sound shot through my entire body. It was as if lightning had struck my head. My entire body was paralyzed. I screamed as loud as I could, yet I couldn't hear my own voice. Boiling. My brain, my heart, they boiled, they bubbled, they melted into mush. Pain crawled from deeper from my body, tearing me apart. My consciousness liquefied and coursed through my veins, and when it finally arrived at my heart, it erupted in a resounding explosion that vanished. Overwhelmed by these horrific sensations, I was unable to figure out what was going on. I could no longer even think. What the fuck? When Kusanagi Yuo slowly opened her eyes, she saw her class 3B, enveloped in pure chaos. What the fuck's going on? Several students had collapsed. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. Foam bubbled from their mouths as their entire bodies convulsed. Another group of students were crouched low to the floor, cowering, pressing down on their heads in pain. The students that had remained shot up from their seats and made straight for the hallway, even though classes were technically still in session. The teacher was too focused on taking care of the students that had collapsed to pay those who left any attention. All the students that had run away were screaming in terror, but none of that seemed to register within Yua's mind. Her phone had been vibrating in her skirt pocket for a while now. Once she finally realized that, Yua slowly reached for it. Is this their fucking plan? She attempted to stand up, but was unable to keep steady and fell from her chair. Staying low to the ground, she leaned against the wall. After she put her glasses back in place, Yua pressed the accept call button and held her phone to her ear. Oh no.
Hi. Hi. はい。一応大丈夫です。
As she answered the question, Yua grimaced and pressed on her forehead. She could hear the clamor of her classmates in the hallway, as well as the voice of her teacher trying to help the unconscious students, but all sounded so terribly distant.
はい。あなたは。はい。はい。そうですか。それで。
Suddenly, Yua went pale. With a gulp, she covered her phone with her hand and brought her voice low. Her voice had very been clearly shaken.
そんなわけないんです。だって本当は。
Upon saying that much, Yua's voice began to falter. She hung her head. What the fuck?
本当は私だったのに。
What? The commotion in the hallway intensified. Everyone was looking and pointing in the same direction, anxious expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallway rattled as if they were being hit by a fierce gale.
はい。そうです。私の妹です。
What?
はい。わかりました。
At last, Yua bowed her head as if the person she was speaking to was in front of her, then hung up the phone. Then she looked up and directed her gaze toward where everyone was pointed beyond the window. What the fuck is that noise? It was as if a seal of white paint had coated the surface of a grand lake. What the fuck? The sky, which had previously been filled only by its white-blue color, was turning white. The white was spreading at an impossible speed. It bled rapidly across the sky, eroding each and every speck of blue it could find.
白く染まっていく。
What do you mean finish chapter 5? What the fuck just happened? Chapter 6, Noah. If it were a day like any other, getting released from a lengthy meeting should have been put Ban Yasuji in a good mood. However, today was not a normal day. The detective removed himself from his peers, moved to the nearest window, and attempted irritably to call his junior. Fuck was going on? Silla, his partner, had not shown up to today's meeting. I get one wanting to play hooky on this, but did you really have to leave me to go it alone? Darn kid, man thought to himself. At first glance, Silla may have appeared light-hearted, but in actuality, he was quite the diligent man and took his job very seriously. With this being Ban's opinion of him, what had happened today was quite the shock. He had attempted to call him several times, but always went to voicemail. Ever since he had heard a faintly unsettling story from Momose 2 days prior, Ban had been faced with a constant feeling of uneasiness. Today, only more troubles had been added to the pile. There was the incident with Silla, but that was not all. When Ban was reporting about the GE rate earlier this morning, he was immediately shot down by Matsugata. We don't have time for crackpot theories, his superior said. Could you not add to the pile, kid? I've had enough for 1 week. Ban waved his fan in his face repeatedly and let out a small sigh. And right when he did, the call connected and he heard the voice of his junior on the other end. What the fuck is going on? The reception was extremely poor. Which part of the countryside did Silla lose himself in? Ban thought, scratching his head. What? As Ban shouted into the receiver, Sua's voice disappeared on the other end, replaced by a continuous rustling sound. The way Sua acted on his own with hugging information was not something that was worthy of praise. However, Ban could not help but smile wearily to himself, as he too was taking unauthorized actions even now, considered that perhaps he was a bad influence on his junior. Ooh. The color in Ban's eyes shifted. What the fuck is happening? Right at that moment, the area below Ban's feet began to shake. Oh fuck. The shaking gradually increased in intensity. It was hard to even stand up straight. Unable to maintain his balance for any longer, Ban got down low to the floor. The other detectives who at first seemed to be underestimating the seriousness of the situation all quickly moved under their tables. The clock fixed to the wall, the paper cups and pens atop the tables, the projection equipment, they all crashed to the floor one by one. The two whiteboards standing side by side near the podium fell to the ground as well. It's like being stuck in some insane turbulence. That was how it felt to Ban. It felt like the ground was disappearing beneath him. His entire body was being swung left and right by the shaking. It seemed to have a seismic intensity of around 5 or 6. As the great Kanto earthquake finally arrived, of all times where it's now. Immediately after thinking that, a fierce pain shot through Ban, causing him to groan out in pain. It felt as if he had taken a violent blow to the head. But he had not been physically struck by anyone. It was simply a severe headache. Oh my god. Fucking... Is this real? Is this, like, actually happening? Or did, like, Norzumi, like, activate the fucking, like, doomsday machine and transfer, like, all the shit over, like, the electronic waves? It just fuck with everybody's minds because everyone's got phones, obviously. So... Or, like, messing with their perception of reality? Like... Suddenly, a scream echoed throughout the conference room. Gritting his teeth, Ban looked up to see one of the detectives gripping his head as he writhed in agony. And then, like a lifeless stall, he fell to the ground with a thump. Most of the other detectives were gripping their heads as well, their faces contorted in pain. But it was this headache that bore no resemblance to any he had experienced before. Whether it was connected to the earthquake, there was no way for Ban to know. Eventually, the shaking gradually subsided. With his vision blurred, Ban looked out the window. Everything was covered in a milky white light. A light so dazzling, Ban could no longer keep his eyes open. What the fuck is going on? Holy shit. As I opened my eyes, I felt a pain sharp enough to crack my skull open. I found myself slumped over in the middle of my room. I tried to get up, but the pain in my head suddenly shot to the rest of my body, and I nearly fainted from the agony. It let out a pained groan. After 5 full minutes of pure writhing torture, the pain receded slightly, and I managed to stand up by using the leg of my bed to support myself. I wiped off the cold sweat on my forehead with my hand. My room was completely devastated. It was as if a tornado had ripped through it. All my waifus lined up on the shelf had toppled over, and some had even fallen off the shelf entirely. The bed was now sitting at an angle. The piles of Rogaine packages had crumpled to the floor and scattered everywhere. What the hell had happened? If I remember correctly, there had been a phone call that played the melody of You May Pass before then transitioning to something like an ambulance siren. It was exactly the same as last time. But it did it to, like, more people than just fucking Takumi. That's right. Right when the buzzer sounded, I heard the ground roar, and immediately after that, my whole body had felt like it was boiling and melting. And then I couldn't remember a damn thing. It was all completely blank. Oh god. Was it an EM wave attack from Shogun? What if Shogun was capable of something similar to what was in the pattern I'd found? Just the thought alone sent a chill down my spine. While trying my best to endure my headache, I looked up at the ceiling. Of course, there wasn't anything to see up there. But if he was reading my mind, he'd have to be using a satellite that'd be in orbit way up there.
いくらなんでもそんなはずないよ。
But considering what Senna had told me before, that patented system could already be in use. Maybe it was in use and a few people were already abusing it. And maybe Shogun was among them. No, there was no way. It was way too far-fetched. There was no way an old fart like him with one foot in the grave would have private access to his satellite unless he was one of the key persons behind a top-secret black project sanctioned by the government. Scaring myself with my own delusions wasn't helping anything. Since something had actually happened, I decided to look up what the hell it was online. Still fighting my headache, I crawled toward my computer.
あれ
The computer should have still been on. The monitor should have been displaying a wallpaper of Town on it, but it was pitch black. I hadn't set it up to automatically go into sleep mode, so it wouldn't make any sense for it to do that. I was feeling dizzy. It was as if I had no strength left in my body. Even standing up took almost everything I had. Gritting my teeth, I attempted to move the mouse around. No response. Next, I tried to press the power button. Huh. It's still on. For a second, the hard disk started emitting typical scratching noise. I sank down in my chair as if I was waiting for my PC to boot. I frantically grabbed my phone, which was still on my desk. Checked the time.
13時
1 p.m. Before I'd gotten that phone call, what time had it been back then when I was browsing that wee stuff on that channel? When I tried using my brain, the stabbing pain coursing through it got even worse. Think, the time, remember the time. Couldn't have been, yeah, it hadn't been noon yet. Which meant,
1時間以上も気絶してた
damn. Or maybe I'd been sleepwalking and I ended up wandering off somewhere else for an hour.
僕は無遊病じゃない
I shook my head violently, trying to stop thinking about things that would make me sink back into negative bullshit. As I did so, my vision wobbled from the pain still hammering in my head. It was like a lump of lead was sitting in the middle of my skull. And when I looked at my PC monitor, I saw...
おいマジで
What the hell? No way. The hard disk data was corrupted?
嘘だそんなのありえないあっちゃダメだそんなことになったら全てが終わる
It was where I stored my giga-sized collection of R18 Moe pics, my Woge save data, all my bookmarks for sites I browse daily, my minimum attendance chart, and the thing I treasured the most, my ESO save data. You're telling me everything's gone? I wanted to cry out in frustration. I wanted to smash my keyboard in anger. I wanted to kick the wall with everything I had. Before I did anything, though, I needed to check if I could restore it. But my whole body was still heavy and my headache refused to go away. All I could do was bite my lip and sink deeper into my chair. It was over. My life was over. Losing my ESO data meant I had no reason left to live. Nothing mattered anymore. It all burned away. Just kill me.
待ってタッキー
With an angelic smile on her face, Sarah tangentially called for me from atop my desk.
冷静になりなよ円数みたいなオンラインのゲームってセーブデータは全部サーバーに保存されてるんじゃない
By server, you mean the dev server?
だからたとえタッキーの PC が壊れてもナイトハルトッチのデータは消えてないはずっしょ
Oh, you're right. I was so dizzy and confused I'd forgotten even the basics. It felt like I'd finally found a ray of hope shining through the endless despair. I knew I could depend on my waifu. Still have to give up on my treasured pics and MPVs that I hadn't backed up, though. I need to start reformatting the OS as quickly as possible. I wanted to see with my own two eyes that my ESO data was safe. Though, in order to do that, the headache that was still torturing me had to stop. I don't think it's going away, man. Fortunately for me, the pain didn't feel like it would be going anywhere anytime soon. What the fuck, man? It looks normal outside. There was rarely ever a moment in which the streets of Shibuya Station were not covered with advertisements, video clips, or music videos from the weirdest popular artists. And yet currently the screens were instead displaying a female anchor with a grave expression on her face. It was an ongoing special TV broadcast. Sensational words decorated the top left of the screen. S15 earthquake in Shibuya, over 200 casualties? Earthquakes were not particularly unexpected in Japan. Tokyo metropolitan area had already fallen victim to several seismic intensity 5 earthquakes over the years. However, as the media gathered more and more information about the incident, the sheer number of casualties made it clear that this was no ordinary earthquake. It was especially peculiar when compared to the 2005 earthquake, also seismic intensity 5, where no fatalities have been reported. Moreover, the epicenter was Shibuya, a city which was already the center of attention in Japan due to the new-gen incidents. There had already been an earthquake in Shibuya approximately 3 months prior. It was a seismic intensity 3 quake and 8 people had died. A test. Maybe Shibuya's cursed. That was what the people observing the breaking news about the latest earthquake were thinking, even if they were not saying it aloud. In any case, each station started their special broadcast right when the earthquake hit. Information was having trouble circulating and the total death count was still unclear. Nonetheless, a female anchor continued to report. Reading from a stack of papers, she declared, "The Fire and Disaster Management Agency has confirmed 31 deaths, and that number is expected to rise as they continue to aid those affected. The causes of death remain unknown, but furthermore, in various reports described a mysterious white light appearing immediately after the earthquake had hit. According to these reports, the light had been accompanied by a massive shockwave, and it turned the sky completely white. The camera spread across Shibuya's Scramble Crossing and caught the aforementioned light on tape, and after the earthquake ended, nothing but pure white footage was displayed on loop on the jumbotrons located there. The discoloration that appeared alongside the earthquake had not simply been at all white, however. It had been utterly blinding. Shibuya had been momentarily enveloped in white, the sheer glare forcing each and every resident's eyes shut. If this were an era of war, the people would have undoubtedly believed it to have come from a nuclear weapon. As a matter of fact, there were some who claimed to have spotted a white mushroom cloud floating a few hundred meters above Shibuya, though it was quick to vanish. No one knew what the origin of that light was, nor if it was connected to the earthquake. And then, just as mysteriously as its arrival, the white sky had returned to its original color in less than an hour. Now a dull white blue way above the people of Shibuya. The asphalt of Dogenzaka was very slightly cracked, its damage only millimeters wide. So there was an earthquake. There's proof that there was an earthquake, but it seems like the earthquake was used to cover up the deaths by this wide transmission of waves, of like electronic waves, like frying people's fucking brains. Like, that seems to what happened. And the multi-tenant buildings, together with many other structures along with Center Guy, had all grown small crevices across their walls. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is a good stopping point right here, folks. This is a little shorter than the other episodes, but this shit's getting good. This shit's really getting good. We are getting to the fucking meat of this. What the fuck is all I have to say here. So, a white earthquakes phones. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Norizumi use this as yet another test to see if they're able to, like, not control people's brains, but like kill people remotely and cover it up with a earthquake, right? Yeah, they use the earthquake as a cover in order to kill people remotely. They're just testing more and more their devices of how to control people and such like that. That's the only explanation I have. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But why did Takumi survive it, though? That's a great question. Why did Takumi survive it? Or did he survive it? Hearing the phone call. Did he survive it? Well, no. Because that no. No. Ban had just been using his phone. So then he got the headache. It probably does come from phones. Like, you use a phone, the electronic signals are like still in your brain, and they are able to harness that and like fry your fucking brain. At least that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing right now. But shit, man, we are getting into it. We are really getting into it now, and I'm fucking excited to see what else this chapter has, because I don't know. Chapter 6 seems kind of like a finale-ish, be honest. Plus, its code name is fucking Noah, you know, the title of the damn game. So I'm curious what else this chapter holds. And what was the whole thing with Yua and talking about her sister? She has a sister, I guess. We never knew that before. So what the fuck's up with that? And what was Sua's weed on the new gen culprit? What the fuck's going on? Bunch of good shit. Can't wait to get to this next time. But yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. We tell us something, put it down in the comments below. Check out Discord server hang out in, or my Twitter, check description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time.